There was a time last week or so where the military had to threaten those who intend to foment violence during the elections. I'm glad you're here today, sir. The concern about this particular press conversation that took place in Government House yesterday with the governor is this. The military are not responsible for internal security. It scares me, sir.
Let me. I think I should say something at this point.
Okay, sir.
Before you take it out of my mouth. The first thing is that when it comes to election, the lead security in election is the police. I'm also at some point surprised to a point that the Chief of Defense Staff is the one that is saying all this. In fact, if the IG had said it, we would all have been very comfortable. Now, when the military says a thing, it's at this particular point in time, maybe these times that you see military coming out to make statements. Otherwise, prior to this time, in the past, by the time the military comes out to say anything, you know that it's, in fact, it is final. So the military does not make such preliminary statements as this. Now, when it comes to election, the military, they are also involved in election in two particular areas. One, in terms of logistics, and two, in terms of protecting, in terms of protecting the, not just internal security, but, every election has to do with movements and so on and so forth. So the military also helps to check some infraction on the side of the citizens, especially where they don't come in until the police apparently is overwhelmed and has invited them in.
Right, sir.
Because we're talking about international security.
Yes. Is that what, because what we were taught is that
so
the police is in charge of internal security.
Yeah, so now when
they can collaborate with the army, just like say, but the concern we have here is this. Is the Nigerian military,
yes.
Last week, I think it was the Chief of Defense, Chief of Army Staff that made the statements like similar to the. So, is the Nigerian military leaving their primary responsibility to overshadow or take over the responsibilities of the Nigerian police force?
No, I don't want to look at it from that extreme angle. That's why we are trying to dissect it. Mm-hmm. If you ask me, I will say that even the military has to be a bit cautious of its involvement in election. When it comes to interagency committee on election security, the role of the military is defined. They have their standards of operation, they have their rules of engagement. And even the military is not allowed to come near, they are to provide security, but they are not allowed to come near voting centers. They should be at least 100 meters away from voting centers at strategic points. They have to check.
If they are doing this,
yes, I'm coming. Let me land. And you know that with with all these statements, mm-hmm. Democracy, voting should be free. People should have a very clear mindset. When you begin to do this kind of thing, some persons even feel intimidated and might not even want to come out. Ordinarily, voters might feel intimidated and might even prefer to stay at home rather than coming out, to vote their person. And let us not forget that in 2019, the election that at some point, the second election, that's he did 2015 to 2019, and then 2019, the election that brought him in a second time. We also saw the involvement of the military, in that election. Of course, we all know because we are in Rivers State, especially in Rivers State here. It was the former governor's ward, that's Governor Wike's ward, against the then brigade commander here, and it was not good for the image of the police. So two things are involved here. One, when the military starts getting involved and starts making this kind of statements, threatening and so on. At the end of the day, people might just decide to remain in their shells instead of coming out to vote. And coming out to vote, is very important for us as a democracy. Number two, the police ought to be making this statement and not from the CDS himself. So the police should be allowed to do its job. The Commissioner of Police, we have AIGs, we have DIGs, we have IGP. These people are in a better place to do their job. So the military should take backstage.